Who does she think she is? A romance author? She's a mother. A podcast? Seriously? Another book? What episode are we even on? Here's what you really need to know. Stephanie doesn't just write stories. She invites others to tell theirs. They say everybody has a past. She thinks everyone has a story. And she wants to hear them all. This is Storytelling with Stephanie.
This episode of Storytelling with Stephanie was pre-recorded in the spring, and it is one of my favorites. Today's guest is Malcom, a best-selling romance author known for her emotional honesty and fearless storytelling. In this episode, Anne shares the parts of the journey that often stay hidden, the grief, the anxiety, the healing, and how writing becomes a lifeline for some of us, especially when you've written over 40 books like she has. If you're listening as a writer, mother, or someone who's trying to find their feet again, this conversation is meant to feel like a safe space. I know it does for me. Let's get into it. Welcome back, storytellers. I'm joined by the fabulous Anne Malcom.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. I was fangirling before we got on live, and I'm just so excited you're here.
I think I've done one other podcast before, so you're like my second podcast I've ever done.
Okay.
So
Good.
yeah, I'm
so
looking
excited.
forward to it. Yeah.
Yes, looking forward to it indeed. Introduce yourself if anybody hasn't read your books, which I'm sure they have.
I'm Anne, and I'm originally from New Zealand, but currently I'm living in America, and I'm a romance author, and I've written, I think, over 40 now. I need to count. I always I always try and count and I miss one, but I've written around 40 romance books. I've been writing for 10 years now. So I started writing when I was in my early 20s in university as just a way to escape. And I just had read I hadn't read all of the romance books, but I felt like I had, and I just felt like I'm going to write a book that I want to read. And that's exactly what I did. Wrote a book that I wanted to read, and that's how I got here, just by like being such a fan of the genre, being such a big reader, and just wanting to like put out books into the world that I would want to read. And
That's
here
amazing.
I am.
I mean, over 40 books. That's amazing. You must be a speed writer.
I will say that was earlier on when I was younger with more stamina and less responsibilities. And I feel like I think there's like a trope that's like the earlier books come quicker because you've got so much inside of you, and there's just like you're so much stories bursting. And I would write till 2 in the morning. I would get up at 6 and go and work out, and then I'd go to university, and then I'd do the whole thing over again. And I don't know where that came from. I was young, so I was young. I drank a lot of coffee. Now I'm a mum and I'm a little older. I do not write as fast as I used to. So a lot of that, like of my backlist, was grown. I would say probably the first 5 years was like when I
Wow.
was writing a lot, and I just had so many stories inside of me, and I wrote a lot. I have slowed down a bit. I probably only release like 2 to 3 books a year now versus I was probably writing like not a book a month, but something close to it
Wow.
back then. And now I take my time. I still have all of those stories inside of me. Like I still feel like I have the same amount inside of me, but my production looks different. But when I do sit down at a computer, I can get a big word count, but it's harder and harder. As Nora Roberts say, you just have to get your butt in the chair, and sometimes it's really hard to get your butt in the chair.
I love Nora Roberts.
Yeah,
Oh,
oh, let me
shout out
close
Nora
this.
Roberts. That's
Oh,
amazing.
she's amazing. I have so many book related quotes that I live by with her as an author,
Yes.
as a mum. I
I have
revere
so many of
her.
my favorites in my photo app. Like when I'm when I'm having like a bad day, I'm like, okay, like I love the one she has a quote. I mean, I'm gonna butcher it, but she has one where it's like I'm gonna prioritize what can fail today,
Hmm.
and it's like almost like marbles on a
It's
table,
like
and
the glass bowls.
glass balls. Yes.
I literally journal every day, and I write my glass bowls in my journal. I'm like, because if you drop a glass ball, it breaks. But if you've got a rubber ball, if you drop that one, it bounces. So you have to decipher between the rubber ones and the glass ones. What
Yes.
can you break and what will bounce?
That's the quote. Yes, I butcher
Yeah.
everything. I'm bad with
No, so do
names.
I. No, I'm terrible with names. I only know that one because I write down every day glass balls. What are my glass balls? Because
Yes.
it's the only way I can kind of Because otherwise I try and do it all. And as women, I think we try and do it all. As mothers, we try and do it all. And you just can't. You just, so I really am trying to understand what I can drop and what's not going to be the end of the world if I don't get it
Yes.
done, if whatever the reason. So that's my
What can
big
fail
thing.
today? And
Yeah,
what can
what can fail? Yeah.
that's what I say to myself in the morning. I'm like, okay, well, I have to be a good mom. I have horrible mom guilt because I
Yeah.
feel like we're just
Oh, yeah.
conditioned to have that. But
Hmm.
what else can fail? And it's usually laundry that like is
Yeah.
like the bottom
Oh
of
my
the
gosh.
barrel of the list.
Lo I have so many baskets of
It's
laundry.
so
Yeah.
many baskets, and writing is somewhere in between there,
Hmm.
and everything else that comes with being a woman, like you said.
Hmm.
And it's we're conditioned to do so many things, and I do like feel that burden a lot of the time, like, oh my god, I have to be a good, I don't have a partner, but I have to be, I have to better myself, I have to be a good mom, I have to cook the meals, I have to, keep my house clean, I have to,
Hmm.
it's just so many like hats you wear and work, and it's like,
Hmm.
how do we do it all? We can't.
We absolutely can't. That's literally been my therapy journey, my as a mom, because I was like that before, but now I am like, I've got to do it all, and the stakes are so high. If I fail in this one thing, like everything, if my daughter watches a little bit too much TV, she's going to be ruined for life. Like I tell
Oh,
myself
you're
all
doing
of
me.
these, yeah, all of these things, and I'm really trying to unlearn that. I actually just read a quote. It was something like, we call mums superheroes because we're trying to glamorize all the work they do instead of giving them more help, or you
I
know what I
know.
mean? And I just feel like that is it, because we want to be super mom.
It's
We
almost
want
like
to,
gaslighting us. It's gaslighting us.
yeah, it's
When we say, oh my
gaslighting.
god, you're doing such a great job, here's something else.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like a lot of days it's so much weight and so heavy, and it's just really hard to figure out what to focus on, how to let go of that guilt, and also take time for yourself. That is my
I know.
biggest thing, because you have to show up for
You
yourself to be able to show
have
up
to.
for everyone
Or else
else.
you lose yourself. You do. And I
Yep.
went through a period in time during motherhood where I completely lost myself. I didn't take care of myself. I felt like a shell of a person. Like I feel like I didn't
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even a person. I was just like a
Mm-hmm.
vessel to take care of everybody else and do
Yep.
the things in which I needed to do. And
Mm-hmm.
like we were talking about before we started the podcast, you have represented that in your books, and I like it was the first time I actually felt seen when I was writing like reading a book, and I was like, "Oh my god, like she gets it." And then the more I like read your books, I just appreciated like your raw and like real honesty in every aspect of life.
I appreciate that, because that is honestly, that's what I want more than anything is I want, and especially with things we burn, but before that I did touch on a lot of things like with mental health and miscarriages and all sorts of things, but with things you burn, that was my biggest goal, because I felt like so isolated as a mother. I felt like my experience was like no one else was having it. Everyone seemed like to have such a different experience, and I was like, I actually read the book Night Bitch, which was amazing, and that was the first time I felt like, oh, I can feel seen, and I just, writing is like therapy to me, so I always write about what I'm going through at the time. Like when I was going through miscarriages, I wrote a lot about miscarriage and loss, because I'm like, this, I feel so isolated, and I love reading romance books in my escape, but I also like feeling seen at the same time, like in a safe place. You feel like, oh my gosh, this character who I'm escaping with is also going through something real that maybe I can resonate with. And I think that romance books are so much more than just sex and whatever mainstream media tries to kind of like dismiss them as. There's so much agency and so much healing that can be done with them. I find myself healing when I write them, so it's honestly the biggest compliment anyone could ever pay me, that they feel seen, because that's all I want. I want people to feel seen and connected.
I did. I felt so seen. I remember reading that and then knowing like the backstory that you actually, went through that stuff and you were so honest about it. I just felt like you were so brave, and that made me want to be a braver writer and like put things in my books that aren't, like you said, like that people don't talk about, because I feel like we're coming out of that era with our parents. We don't talk about like the hard things. You just kind of glaze over it and everything's perfect. And, if you're struggling, you kind of keep it in your house.
Yep. Yeah, and I totally, that is, it's like, just keep going. It's very that generation in New Zealand where I come from. It's like the same. It's like, be tough, just keep going. And especially with things like miscarriage and mental health, like miscarriage feels so lonely, and you feel like there's no one to talk to. And then you do talk to a woman, she's like, oh yeah, I've had three, I've had two, but I've just never talked about it. And it's the same with mental health and all of that kind of stuff. So I do feel like writing it is like, gets it, stops it from feeling like something to be ashamed of, something to like isolate me. And also I feel like, I can't remember the quote, I can't remember it exactly or where it came from, but it's something along the lines of, whatever you're most afraid of, write that. and like whatever scares you is what you should write. I went through that like with I was talking to my assistant. I've got two book ideas I am oscillating between, and I told her both of them, and I'm like, this one scares me a little bit. The second one, she's like, you need to write that one. Write the one that scares because, and I knew that in my heart. I was like, this one I'm so excited about, but it feels a little safer. And she's like, write the scary one. Write the one that you feel like is pushing the boundaries, is kind of, and it is, it's more my experience. It's more coming from, I started writing that postpartum too. It's very dark. And I just feel like that needs to come out of me, and that's what I need to put into the world. But it's hard, it's scary, and I second guess myself sometimes. I'm like, should I be putting this much into a book? Should I be writing this line?
That was going to be
And
my next
yeah,
question. Yes, that like, do you second guess yourself, and do you have that those like thoughts after you put it out there? Because you're so brave, and that you have this like fearless energy about you, very inspiring, and you seem
thank
to have
you.
it, very together. And but I love that you're honest about your struggles too.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment. I don't feel like I have it together a lot of the time, and I do feel scared a lot of the time. I feel chaotic. So that's a huge compliment. But I think it is. It's just it's something that is learned, and I just honestly writing is such a therapeutic escape for me that sometimes it doesn't. I'm just pouring it all out, and then after the fact, I'm like, whoa, I wrote a lot there. But I find myself when I don't write, that's when the wheels kind of come off a little bit. And I feel like that's what holds me together a lot of the time. And we were
You need
talking,
writing more
yeah,
than
I
I do.
need it.
Yeah.
I need writing, I need reading, I need to be able to have those escapes. And without them, like, I do feel hugely different. Even postpartum, when I wasn't writing, of course, postpartum is a hugely like transitional time. You don't feel like yourself, and there's a lot going on. But I was like, I need to write, I need to read because I like the person it makes me feel. It makes me feel inspired, and that comes from my mom. Like she was a single mom. Like we lost my dad when I was 12. So that's where a lot of the, I think maybe the resilience comes from because I do it. You have to kind of get on with it. And my mum was such a strong, and she's to this day is a very strong and capable person, and she was like who my model was for a lot of who I am now, and she made me love books. She's a huge reader, so
Oh,
and she was the one that's like, you could be a writer, and I was like, no, I'm going to be a fashion stylist. I went to fashion school, and I was like, I'm going to do this. She's like, no, you could be a writer, you could write books, and I was like, no, I can't.
I
And
was
now
going to be
she,
a fashion stylist. Oh my God, it's so funny.
no way,
I
that's
was I went
hilarious.
to fashion college. I was going to
Hmm.
go to,
Amazing. Yeah,
yeah, so
I dropped out, so
like you said, writing is so healing. But I think I was just projecting a lot of my own things onto my
hmm
characters.
hmm.
And then my second book that just came out yesterday, I feel
Oh,
like,
happy release day.
yeah, it was actually, and it's I did my on my birthday as well, so it was just like
And happy
craziness.
birthday.
Oh, thank you, Taurus. Craziness. I know you're an astrology girly, so you'll appreciate it. I'm a Capricorn moon, and I know you're a Capricorn.
Yeah, I'm a Capricorn through and
Yeah.
through.
I'm all Earth. I'm a Taurus sun, Capricorn moon.
My daughter's a Virgo, so
Oh, so cute.
yeah,
Love it.
yeah. Sorry, lost your train of thought.
Had come out of that postpartum almost fog because it is like a fog, and you don't know what day it is. Like, is my shirt clean?
Mm,
And you love them so much, and you want to give them everything you have, but then you can't give them everything because then you're
no.
stripped away of yourself. And that's like, and I was just so like harsh with myself, and I put these standards that are just not obtainable at all.
I resonate with that so deeply. There was a day where I was crying in my bed in the dark in the middle of the day, and my mum came in. She's like, "What is wrong?" I said, I had this book, and it was a baby book. I'm like, she's not following the schedule. She was a newborn, and I'm like, she has to eat here, she has to sleep here, and she doesn't follow the schedule. And I was like, I'm a terrible mother because I can't follow a simple schedule for my child. Because I was like,
That's me.
I would set like a timer of when she was meant to nap, and I'd like, the
Me
timer's going off.
too.
She's meant
Oh
to
my
nap.
God, me too.
I
I
was
had
psychotic.
the wake windows. The
Yeah,
wake
the
windows. I
wake
was
windows.
ruled by the wake windows. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
I was like a crazy person,
No,
and yeah,
literally the
yeah,
same thing. Literally. I
and
was
and
sobbing in the corner of my room.
yeah,
Sobbing.
and I was breastfeeding, and I remember
Me too.
viscerally, I was like, she can own, according to this book, which I don't like the book, but it works for some people, but I want to burn that book. She's like, she should only feed here. And I remember my husband was holding our daughter, and she was screaming because she wanted to feed. And I'm like,
Yeah.
she's got 20 more minutes. She can't feed until 20 more minutes.
Oh my God,
And
this is
I was
so
crying,
similar.
she was crying. And I
So
was like,
same.
and then there's a scene in Things We Burn where they literally burn those books, and that was so cathartic because my mum and my best friend's like, you need to get rid of those books. your baby is not a book baby. Get rid of the books. And it's like, my
Oh,
baby is not a book baby. I like all of the
I
things,
read all of them.
every single book. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Because these books are telling me that it's easy, and if it's not easy for me, which means I'm a bad mother. And I went through such a terrible time with it. Yeah, and then I place huge standards on myself that are impossible, that
I love
just
that you
no one
mentioned
could
that.
even meet. Yeah,
I love that
so
you mentioned that and that you were so honest that the scene in Things We Burn was real because that scene, I cried.
yeah,
When they burned the books and said that your baby's not a book baby, and one
yeah,
of the characters said that, and I was like, oh my God, my son wasn't a book baby. He
yeah,
was just, a wakeful baby, and that's okay.
yeah,
I didn't give myself enough grace
no,
during the time, and I was so rigid. I didn't give myself
yeah.
any grace.
I was the same. I was constantly in fight or flight. I didn't enjoy any of, like, our daughter, she had really bad colic for probably the first 6 months of her life, and she would just scream constantly. And I was like, it's because of me. It's because I'm not eating this.
Blame
And I'm
yourself.
breastfeeding. I'm like, whatever the thing is, I'm not swallowing her right. I'm not putting, and I would, everything was on my shoulders, and it's
Yeah.
horrible.
I'm
And
not keeping them upright enough.
yeah,
I'm rubbing their back in the wrong direction.
mm-hmm,
It's supposed to be up and not like
yeah,
up to burp and not
yeah,
down. I'm
yeah,
causing gas. I'm causing,
yeah,
all this. Oh my God, it's so similar.
yeah.
It's insane.
It is, and it's the weight of being a mother, being a woman, being a person, and I only just feel like I'm coming out of it now, and like it's really good for you. I think it's been the best thing for my personal growth because it teaches you to let go, it teaches you to trust your instincts. And my
Yes.
instincts were always telling me, don't listen to the book, feed my baby when she needs to be fed,
Yes.
hold her close, do all of the things that society tries to say that are bad or whatever. I'm like, no, you know yourself better, and yeah, it's taken me 2 years to like finally get there.
It
And
took me
yeah,
almost 3 years to
yeah.
get to the point where I can take care of myself. I resonate with that so much. That just wasn't our journey.
I think that's it. And I think it's so hard with other people's opinions because, yeah, babies are not robots. So they're like, yes, my baby did this, so all babies should be able to do this. Or the older generation have different sets of expectations or different whatever. My nana was amazing because I remember I went to New Zealand and I put our daughter down, and at that point she was sleeping like 1.5 hour increments, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna get up in an hour and a half, and oh this and that. And my nana said, she's asleep now, so just enjoy her being asleep now, and when she wakes up, we'll deal with it. Like, and she was such an opposite of the generation that is like, no, just let her cry and this. And so I think a large part and the reason why I write such strong female characters is because I'm surrounded by a really strong, like my Nana's a lovely matriarch. She's like such a strong person, but she also has that gentleness. Same with my aunt, same with my mum. Like having those strong female role models is so important, especially after you have a baby, and to like
Absolutely.
show you and teach you how to take care of yourself, even if you don't listen at the time. Because at the time I didn't listen. My mum and my auntie were trying to get me to relax and take the pressure off, and it's
Yes.
a journey. It's a huge journey.
Yes, and I think that my mom actually, because my mom never took time for herself, like, I think she's healing seeing me taking time for myself and like
Yeah,
those generational curses. Like,
I agree. I think that my mum is having that same experience because she was very much that same of that generation, and she's so supportive of me doing that. And I agree. I feel like she's healing, and it's such a lovely experience to be able to connect to your mum in a different way and understand what they
absolutely.
were going through and have different
And you
perspectives.
humanize them. You
You
humanize
do,
them.
you
Yeah,
do, yeah, which is so important. And you give them a
it is.
break, and then I'm just like, oh my gosh, this little baby that I was this and I'm still that to my mom, and that's why she does the things because I'm still her little baby, and
Yes,
it's such a beautiful experience,
it
especially if you're
is.
lucky enough to have a supportive and loving mom, which not everyone has, and I count my
No.
blessings every day that she
Yes.
is who she is.
Absolutely. And some people don't have, even one parent who's supportive. So whether it's a dad or a mom,
Mm-hmm.
I made my mom's baby picture, the photo in which when she calls.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I
Oh,
see when
and
she
you
calls is a
remember
picture.
she was a baby.
And so I remember like if I want to get annoyed with her, because it happens,
Of
I
course.
I they trigger, and your mother
Mm-hmm.
at any age knows how to trigger you more
Trigger
than
you.
anybody in the
Mm-hmm.
whole world, because they know you better than anybody in
Yep.
the whole world. And so I have her baby picture, and so I give her more grace, I think, like
Yep.
seeing that. I'm like, okay, she was a baby too.
I love that. I actually just listened to a Louise Hay meditation. I love
I
Louise
love
Hay.
Louise Hay.
Oh my gosh, are we the same person? And she said that her evening meditation was imagine your mom as like a 3-year-old child and bring her in, and it's like so powerful to
So
envision
powerful.
that. And yeah, I love doing all that. I'm deep into all of that kind of
Me
work
too. I
as a
started
mum.
therapy. I'm a
Yep.
big therapy
I'm a
girly.
therapy girly too.
Yes,
I
me
literally, yeah,
too.
I was so against it for the
Me
longest time.
too.
And I was like, no, I was, yeah, yeah. And I love my therapist. My husband and I actually go to the same therapist. We both
Oh, I
love
love
her.
that.
She's amazing. And it's just, I think everyone should be in therapy. It takes a while. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot. You have to like find the right fit, but I highly recommend it
I
to
went through
everyone.
three. I've went through
Yeah.
three, and third
Mm.
time's the charm for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I definitely agree. I think therapy is so beneficial. And growing up, you don't go to therapy, and
Yeah.
like very Italian, old school like mentality, and like
Mm-hmm.
you deal with your own problems. You're mentally tough, like what we were
Yep.
talking about before.
Yeah.
And so for me to go to therapy, like even when I told my dad I went to, like I was going to therapy, like his reaction was just he was like so floored. You would have thought like I had said something like outlandish.
Sounds like an old school, like sounds like a New Zealand dad, to be honest. I think there's a lot
Yeah,
of crossovers between those cultures, honestly.
probably,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I felt the courage to do so, and it's helped me so much.
Yeah.
I did neurofeedback therapy as well. I'm into all the like healing modalities. I'm
Oh.
very into self-improvement. I do the artist's way, and
Oh, I have the artist way on our coffee table right
I
now.
think we're the same person.
I think we are the same person. I do my morning pages every morning. Yeah, I love my morning
I do
pages.
meditations. Are you
I
into Joe
do.
Dispenza?
Oh, I literally listened to Joe Dispenza this morning while I was doing my morning. I
I think we're
swear,
the same
I think we're the
person.
same person. That is hilarious. I love it.
Me
I
too.
love that we've both found this journey after being postpartum. I think it's just like these are crossroads that sometimes you can get to being a mother, and you can go one way that's like more like just it's more difficult on you and it's more toxic, and then going that self-healing way. And I love to see that you're doing that because it's
Oh,
so
me too.
important.
And even in your story, like, I feel like I've like had so many breakthrough moments reading your books.
That means so much to me. Honestly, that's if you are the only person in the world who read my book and you're the only person who said
And I'm
that, then I
definitely
would
not
have
because your
I would have
books
felt like
are so wildly popular. And I found you through Recipe for Love. That was my gateway
that's
into,
like my big TikTok book, that one
yeah.
is. Yeah, yeah. And that was another one that was like hugely personal because I've had anxiety, especially health anxiety, on and
That was
off
what I
my
was just going to
entire
mention.
life.
And so we're
Yep,
on the same wavelength because I was just
yep.
going to mention the anxiety representation and the, health, especially health anxiety specifically. I think you represented it in such a like a way again that was so raw and real. And I was like, oh my God, are we the same person? Like, I think I'm
I
Nora.
I think
Like,
I
literally, like
yep.
I'm Nora, and I want a Rowan, and yeah.
You will get your Rowan. And I no, I've had the same my whole life. I remember when I can't remember how old it was. It might have been after my dad died. I can't remember. But I was so convinced that I had a brain tumor that my mum took me to my family doctor and he put a light behind my eyes, and she obviously had spoken to him and said, "Oh, I can see you don't have a brain tumor." And like they obviously it's not how it's done, but it was that debilitating that my mom was like, I need to go and talk to your family, like we need to do something, and it's just kind of gone through the air. And I'm the same as you. It creeps and peaks and valleys. When I was going through all of my miscarriages, it was like I self-fulfilling prophecy in a little bit of way because I'm like, this is it. And that's kind of, I can't remember when, I think it was my first or second that I wrote I Recipe for Love, but it was like really taking hold of my life. And I know there's so many people that struggle with it, and I just don't, and some people who don't understand it because just kind of brushed off like, oh, you're just being a hypochondriac, get over it. And they don't really understand the depth of it. And I just, again, I wanted people to be seen and spoken to through the modality of a romance book, that you can see yourself as like this character, and with the book boyfriend, and like it's so much deeper than that. I never want my characters to feel like cookie cutter characters, and they always kind of have different aspects of myself, my good parts, my bad parts, my struggles, my victories, and the same with my book boyfriends. All of them have little bits of my husband in them, little like his little idiosyncrasies, or I pepper them in there. But it's the same. I want to ensure that I kind of create an authentic experience, and
You definitely do. I
I
mean,
yeah.
Laura was like, that was when I was reading it, I was like, is this girl inside my brain? Like, I'm a little learned. I mean, and I've never read a book where they've had health anxiety. So, and like, anxiety, yes, but health anxiety. And I was like, this is cool. I mean,
Yeah,
this is something powerful because you feel like something's wrong with you because you want those small town romance with something that you makes you feel seen and like
exactly.
heard and like that you're still worthy of love. You're worthy of loving yourself and worthy of love in a partner. And
Hmm.
like I think that your books do that. And Recipe for Love, like I said, was my gateway into that. And with health anxiety, similar to you, I projected on other people.
Hmm.
So I think things are wrong with people in my life, and
Oh
like
my God, I think my daughter has a brain tumor. Like, I'm like, what is this? What is her hand? Why is her eye doing that? What is this rash? And my husband has to bring me back down to earth. My
yes,
pediatrician, I think I probably called my pediatrician every day for the first 6 months of her life. I project that, and it's so hard.
it's so
It's
hard. It's so
yeah.
hard and it's debilitating. And then you teeter between the problem of, oh, is it my intuition or is it
Oh my, we're the same person. I
yeah,
think I literally said that to my therapist. I'm
yeah,
like, I don't know what my intuition is and what my anxiety is. And she said,
yes,
well, you have to change it from anxiety to fear. What is your fear telling you? What is it? And yeah,
yes.
no, I struggle with that.
And my therapist, we should, but this is so
Our
funny.
therapist should talk.
Yes, literally. My therapist said for the conversation between anxiety and intuition that anxiety is loud and
Hmm.
intuition whispers. And
Yeah.
it's like, and so you're going to hear it constantly. Like intuition almost silence the noise to listen, but when the noise is so loud, you can't hear your intuition.
Hmm.
And
And
so
your intuition,
that was
yeah,
comforting to me.
yeah. And your intuition shouldn't scare you either. It shouldn't feel
No,
scary.
it shouldn't
It's
be
yeah,
scary.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a really big struggle, and I probably will be threading that in future books because it's not something I've mastered yet. But yeah, I definitely find that, and especially having a child who you love most in this world, and you never want anything
Absolutely.
to happen to them, you're hyper vigilant over
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, it used to be me with my mom. I watched Stepmom when I was like 8 years old, 7 years
Oh
old,
my God, I love that.
and I was like, oh my god, like I was convinced something was wrong with my mom. I made her go to the doctor like 100 times, and
Hmm.
literally like they'd have to write me like a clear bill of health because I just didn't believe it.
Yeah, yeah, I totally resonate with that, and it's so hard, especially when you're if you're like I think writers are just naturally more sensitive people, and we have a vivid imagination, and that serves us so well when it's directed in the right way. But when it's not, it has to go somewhere, and like our
Right.
imagination can be our worst enemy, and I know that mine can. I same with my husband. If there's anything going on with him, if he doesn't text me right away when he's driven somewhere, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's had a car crash. What is going on? Like, it's your imagination as an author is like, again, it's like your superpower in a way, but then there's the flip side of that too. If it can run away
Absolutely.
with you a little bit.
And I think it's worse when you, like you said before, when you don't write for a period of time. It's almost like all of that's like kind of like bursting at the
Just got
seams, and
nowhere to
then
go.
like there's nowhere to go, and then the pin, like you stick a pin in it, and it like kind of like
Yeah.
explodes.
Yeah, I find that. And I definitely, it's not something I quite understood until having a baby and not writing for a long time, and then really understanding that I've always feel strange calling writing my job because it's like something that I need to do. It's like I used to go to sleep, and how I would go to sleep is I'd create intricate daydreams in my head, like of scenarios and like little stories in my head, and that's what I used to do, and that's what I feel like I'm doing for my job. I just write down my little daydreams, my little fantasies that and that's definitely it's like something I need beyond it, paying the bills or anything like that, which is amazing. I've never thought that something that I love and something that helps me so much would become a job. But yeah, I find that I
What's
need it
that quote?
otherwise.
There's a quote that like do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Hmm.
I feel like that's
Yeah,
for you.
it still feels like that. Like I struggle to get up in my office and write because I want to be with my baby.
Right.
And my therapist was like, you need to say you're going to work because that's what it is. And it's like it feels like I'm cheating someone by saying I'm going to work. I'm going up here to write. It doesn't feel like work. It's a very amazing thing, and I feel grateful that this is
Oh, I
my
love
job.
that's my goal. I want to make this my, full-time job, and I love it so much. And I said, and it sounds cheesy, but I found the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life. And
Hmm.
it's so healing for me, and I'm addicted to it. I really am. And I never
I
thought
think.
in 100 years that it would be so like such a part of who I am, and it's become
Hmm.
that very
I
quickly.
I think that that's the trick. And I think doing it with a clear passion and a genuine passion, I think that's how you like make it your job is because it's like so authentic and it's coming from such a beautiful place. I think that's and that's where mine came from. And it's the same thing. I didn't think it was going to be a job. I just knew I loved it. And I think that readers, especially now, can kind of sense that authenticity and intuitively see that in books because the market is amazingly so large right now. There's so diverse and there's so many books available, and I just think that that's what can set you apart from other people is just yeah that true passion and that true love, and people I think can see that and read that, feel that.
Absolutely. And even you put in your books, I think it was in Recipes for Love, like Nora is very diligent about her skincare. And I love those little things about characters, like that
Hmm.
and it's not just like, oh, she loves clothes. It's something like very like, not many people talk about that. It's niche. And I love those little niche
Oh,
details or,
I
you know,
love them.
yeah, and even when you were speaking, like describing Nora's house, like you can envision, like she's a collector of things, almost like a like the
Hmm.
Martha Stewart aesthetic, and like
Yeah.
cottage core,
Hmm.
coastal grandmother kind of thing.
I love Coastal Grandmother,
Me too.
but I think that's something Stephen King is one of my favorite authors, and one of my most favorite thing that he does is his books. They're supernatural, they're horror, but he writes the ordinary very well. He writes like tiny little details about you, things you do as a human being that you're like, I didn't think anyone else ever did this, like seemingly benign, whatever, like it's a ritual, it's something that you wouldn't even think to put in a book, but I think that's a part of what makes him so extraordinary is he's like a student of the human condition and he writes it so well, and that's something that I aspire to do in my books is write little just things that you wouldn't even think of and put them in books because I just think and I find that and especially in romance books I read if I find that someone does that I'm like oh my gosh I love you as an author because this is something that not everyone does. Not everyone thinks to put this little detail in, and that's definitely something I take from Stephen King and I'm working on because I love him. He's
I'm
him
gonna
and
steal
Nora Roberts.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
say that because I like
yeah,
that a lot. I like that analogy, and I like it's fun.
yeah.
It's those moments where you're like kicking your feet. I'm like, because I'm a skincare girly. I love that
Hmm.
stuff, and I'm like, oh, like
I know it's
more
isn't
of a
it?
skincare girly.
If it's just yeah, I get excited too. And if you haven't read On Writing by Stephen King, I
It's in
highly
my
recommend.
Amazon card. I have to buy it. I'm
You
gonna.
should.
Yeah,
I used to be a little bit like, oh, I don't need to read nonfiction. I don't need this and that. I'm a creative. I don't need. But
yeah.
Stephen King was
I
my
think about
first.
that.
Yeah, oh, I love it.
Yes,
But you do. It's part of, honing the craft. And Stephen King is my mum, who does not read nonfiction. She loves fiction. She's a fiction girly. She even read Stephen King on writing. She's not an author, but she just loved it. And that's one of my favorite books on the craft for sure. And I just
I
love
love
Stephen King.
I love researching the craft. So now I'm definitely gonna buy that now, knowing that it's like that
I
helpful.
love it.
Like I said, I have like so many, like I have a stack right here I'm looking at beside me. I really want to hone in on my craft enough to like
Hmm.
get better, like always self-improvement, like we were talking about before.
I think that's really important. I think that's one thing I would change. I wouldn't change anything, but if I would tell authors starting out, that's something that I wish I'd done a little bit more is like hone my craft a little bit more and get not be so like I'm so creative. I don't need it. I used to do it almost as an excuse. I'm so creative. I don't need to plan my day. I don't like I'm just a creative girl and it's just not something you can do is when you're a mother or but I also think having a little bit of structure, you don't have to live and die by it, but I think doing that and reading books on the craft again, self-improvement is it makes you being a better person or learning things like self-improvement books inevitably makes you a better author and because you take those things and you channel them into
Yeah.
your writing and
And you
that's
and it doesn't you don't have to take it doesn't you have to not have to take it like Bible. Like it doesn't have
no,
to be like okay, I have to do every single thing that they're saying.
yeah.
It's like no, I'm gonna take what works and then like
Mhm.
leave the rest.
Yep, I do that, and I think learning it's the cliche, but you've got to learn the rules to be able to break them because you can take what you resonates with you, and then you're like, well, I know that this is the rule, but this is not what I'm going to do. And I've had that
Right.
with kind of editors before. They're like, oh, you do this a lot in some in books, and do you want to like they have a logical mind, which I love. My editor is like such a perfectionist. She's amazing, and she points out every single thing. But it's been actually really valuable to me because I can be like, no, this is something that from an editor's point of view, is one thing, but to me, it's like, no, this is my style, this is my voice, this is like a distinct part of my craft, and it's been really nice to be able to decipher how I break the rules in some ways because I'm like, yeah, no, this is what I like, this is what I like reading. At the end of the day, that's always what I go back to. I like reading this style in a book, this whatever the thing is, and if I like reading it, and even if it quote unquote breaks the rules, then I'm gonna keep it.
I love that, and that's very validating for me because I often I'm like, oh, my editor, she said to me, she's like, oh, um, you're talking to the audience like as if it's like almost narrating. I'm like, that's
Hmm.
my style, and she's like, okay.
Yeah.
And so now she's like, and she'll point it out and say, is this a style choice? And I'm like, yes.
No, it's great that your editor does that because sometimes I have done things that could be interpreted as stylistic, and she points about, I'm like, oh no, I didn't mean to do that. In that same
Right.
vein, I think it's really important to be able to decipher what is the thing that you want to do because some people are like, oh, that's an error. You're like, no, that's not an error. That's how I like to talk, or it might be very well be an error, but I agree with that. Like there are certain things that if you wanted to go by the rule book that they're like, oh, you shouldn't do this, shouldn't do this. I'm like, but I love it when people do that in a book. And then other times I'm like, you're right, that doesn't work there.
Right.
And yeah, so I think it's really valuable having an editor that can understand and be flexible. And my editor's amazing. She's still so like she's like, I'm a perfectionist, I can't stop, and I love it, and it's so valuable to me because I can, and it takes me out of it a little bit and it forces me to refine my craft because she points out a lot of things to me that I'm like, oh yeah, I have to think deeper on this. Is this something that is my style? Is this something that is unique to my voice, or am I maybe being a bit lazy here and defaulting a little bit instead of improving?
And it pushes you to go deeper with the story,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure, and you
Hmm.
become a better storyteller because of it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been a long journey with editors. I've had so many different editors, so many great editors, but as my writing has grown, as my voice has changed, as my point of view has changed, or whatever the fact is, it's you have to find the right editor. It's like same with
There.
a it's just like a therapist. You have to find someone because they're reading something that's very personal and very raw, and they have to know you, they have to understand you, and I think it's a really intimate relationship, especially being self-published.
Absolutely.
You do have that power. It's a power. It's a blessing and a curse because there's so many editors out there, and I was like a little bit not scammed, but early on, and there's people that might not give you the right things you need and charge a huge amount of money, and there's so many out there, and it can be daunting, and it's just you have to find the right fit.
Absolutely. It's like finding a partner. And like,
Hmm.
I think they, in Sex and the City or one of the shows, it was like, oh, finding a good therapist is like finding a good partner. And it's so
Hmm.
true. And it goes the
Yep.
same for editors and,
Yep.
and even cover designers too. Anyone
Oh
who's
yeah.
covers.
Oh, my cover designer Kat she's amazing. I love her so much. She'll be my ride or die. She is so talented, and I remember she was a really early reader of mine. She was blogging, and then she said she wanted to do covers. I'm like, you have to redo one of her favorite series of mine is Unquiet Mind. I'm like, redo my Unquiet Mind series. She had already been designing covers by that point, but I was like, I want like redo them for me, and that's how we started. Is she started redoing some of my covers, and then I'm like, you just need to do all of my covers. And before then, even Jay from Simply Defined Art, she did my covers too, and she's amazing. She's super talented, and I love her covers as well. So I was just blessed to be able to find both of them because in both designers, I've had people at signings buy books purely because of the cover, and they do judge a book by its cover, which I do too. I've done it before. If I'm like, that's a really cool cover, I'll buy the book. So it is important, and I felt very lucky to have found some really, really talented designers.
No, and your branding's on point. I remember with Method for Matrimony, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, she had a wedding invitation, and it was just it was amazing.
That was yeah, Kat. Like I love her, and because I can literally, I've seen her on my Pinterest board. Like, these are my vibes, and I'm very loose about it. And she always just kind of gives me, like, she inspires me. And sometimes, honestly, I will talk to her about covers when I'm feeling stuck in a book, and she will inspire me to I'm like, okay, now I have to write a book for this cover, and it's like very inspiring to be able to have that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I have
very
covers for
lucky.
books that don't even exist yet, like on
Yeah,
paper. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, it's gonna help me write. It's gonna give
No,
me like that boost, and it does. It makes me want to
it
write it.
does. It
Yeah.
does. I feel that I'm a visual person. I even Pinterest is a big thing for
Oh,
me.
me
I
too.
love my Pinterest boards. It really helps me visualize and get back in if I'm feeling stuck. I always go into Pinterest.
Are you a plotter or a pantser?
I'm a pantser, 100%. I will sometimes do a little plots, but no, I will write the end of my book before I write. I'll write like one sentence at the beginning, then I'll write the endings. Like I'm write in a such a chaotic way that drives my husband bonkers because he's so type A.
He's a writer as well.
He is, yeah. He's actually been writing a lot of screenplays. That's how we wrote a book together. He wrote the screenplay and then I converted it into a novel, and he's been huge back into writing, which is so exciting. And we're planning on doing another book together soon. We were
Can't
just
wait.
talking about it, and yeah, it's funny because we're so different. And he's like, "How do you write the end before you even know what's going on?" I don't know how I do it. I just think I'm in yoga, and I've got to like do it halfway during a yoga pose. I'm like, "That's the scene. Have to go write that scene," and it doesn't connect to anything.
But
Yeah.
I do my notes app so I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong. Like I
Hmm.
don't give myself permission to go in the document and like, okay, no, I'll write in my notes
Give
app.
yourself permission. Do it.
I know. I have to give myself permission to be naughty and just write it out of order and, be okay with it.
It took a while for me to do that. I used to, when I was early, I didn't used to do it. My instinct was to do that. But I'm like, you're not allowed to do that. I'm like, it's my book. I can do what I want.
I know.
And when I gave myself permission, yeah, it can get away from me sometimes, and I can sometimes be like, how the heck am I going to connect all this? And it sometimes will bite me in the ass. But I genuinely like doing it because it just gives me a place to go. And but again, everyone writes so differently, which is amazing, and that's why we have such an amazing different quality of books out there. But yeah, that's what I feel like helps me because my brain is so I can just put it all
Mine
down.
too.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
try to be a plotter. I have like a loose outline. I feel like for every book, like, and I mean, it's just like gibberish. Like, okay, chapter one, like these three like words, and then like this, like,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
I'm like, okay, and then I somehow piece it together. And like with my first book, it's funny, and you never know where it's going to end up because my first book, the middle of the book, I wrote first.
Mm-hmm.
But it ended up being the prologue because
Yeah.
I was writing in chronological. What happened was I was gonna write in chronological order. The middle of the book is when they break up at 18, but
Mm-hmm.
they knew each other since four. So from 4 to 18, I had to backtrack and write from 4 to 18. Then I deleted a bunch of that stuff out, and we started at 18, and we have sprinkles of little flashbacks in between, which take it's like so we go back to when they're 10 years later. So it's a little
That's
all over.
also it's also like super impressive of you to do a flashback book for your first book because
Oh,
this
really?
they're hard to do. I feel like they're a struggle. I've done
I
a
think it's because I
few.
did it in order. I
Yeah.
wrote that one
Yeah.
scene, which is technically the middle, but I wrote it in order, like from 4 to 18 after that. And then I was like, okay, well, they end up here breaking up at 18. And this is not a spoiler because it's the beginning of the book now, but it was originally the middle. And then 10 years later after that, they run into each other. So I guess I was like lucky in the sense that I did it in order.
No, I love that though. I think it's actually probably a really good way to get your writing muscles and I
Yeah.
actually I think Echoes of Silence and Skeletons maybe was my first flashback, but I felt like that helped me grow as an author, like writing that because it helps like it makes your brain work a little harder. And I think
Yeah.
it makes the creative cogs turn. And they're fun to write once
It is
you
so fun. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I loved it. And I actually took out a lot and I feel like I should have like included more because people were a little like confused on certain like I feel like some of my reviews they're like, "Oh, well like there's a little bit of a disconnect on like certain things." I'm like, "Oh, I should have been." Again, I have like I had it was literally 120,000 words or something like that, maybe even 130.
I think yeah, Making the Cut was my first book was like 140. Yeah.
And I cut so much to make it, marketable at
Hmm.
95 and I was like, I should have just left like five more like thousand.
That's I think that's the real thing again because the spiel is kill your darlings, like don't write and my books, I'm a long, again, I like to read long books. So I tend to write long books. And I used to be like, the industry is like, don't write anything over 80 to 90. That's the sweet spot. That's the marketing. And sometimes I'll naturally go there. And other times I will. I think the anchor holds is 140,000 words
Oh,
I'm at
exciting.
right now. So if your instinct is to write 140,000 words, I think, yeah, but it's hard though, because other times when I have killed my darlings, it has helped the book. But yeah, my default is to write long stories because I love. And
I
even in the editing process, I'll add like 10,000 more. I'm like, oh, I just had a good idea. And then I still have deleted scenes. I have a page of like 10,000 of deleted scenes. So it's so hard to figure out because you think, oh, this is so important to the story, but that's from
Yes.
your point of view.
When
And
I
in my head,
that
everything is
story,
important.
when it was 130,000 words, I was like, I can't delete one thing. I
Yeah,
can't
no,
think of one thing to delete. And then I
I
deleted 40,000 words, so
yeah.
go
And
figure.
it is funny. I still have one beta reader. She's my only beta reader. I used to have a bunch, but she's been with me since the start. I sent it to her and I was like, should I cut this? And she's brutally honest. Like if she doesn't like a character, if she doesn't like a scene, she'll be like, this does not work. I love her so much. And she's like, I honestly don't think you can cut anything. And I'm like, okay, I trust you. Like,
I love that. What can
it,
you tell us about Calliope's story?
it's such a fun. It's so initially everyone was like, she needs to be with someone dark. Like it needs to be like, and a lot of people thought that she was going to be with Nox, I think, and that was like everyone was kind of
Oh,
disappointed
really?
because
I didn't know
yeah,
this.
yeah, that people
Oh,
thought that because she's dark, and initially it was going to be a true love triangle, and I don't really like love triangles. I don't read them. But I was like, at the start, I was like, this needs to be a love triangle. But as I wrote it, it's very much Grumpy Sunshine and he's Sunshine. She's grumpy. She's morally grey. He's like the golden retriever energy, but he also takes care of her. And I love Yellowstone. I love Beth and Rip. I love
me
their
too.
relationship. They're amazing. And one of the things that resonates with me about their relationship, people were like, why does so many people love them? And it's because she's being quote unquote crazy, but he would never call her crazy. He's like takes care of her. He meets her where she's at, and that is the energy with Calliope and oh my gosh, I almost said Rowan. Not enough sleep last night. Elliot, he's not scared of her, quote unquote crazy. He's
Sorry
like
if
not
I'm saying it
intim.
wrong. I'm so bad with pronunciation. I think
Oh
I
my
pronounced.
gosh,
I just heard your pronunciation. I'm like, okay, that's the right way to pronounce
wait,
it.
maybe mine's wrong. I don't know. That's in my head. I used to read. My mum used to read Harry Potter to me, and I would read it on my own, and then she would read it to my brother and I, and she'd say Hermione. I said it's Hermione, mum, and I was
Oh,
so confident.
sweet.
Like it's Hermione.
Yes,
Like we literally the same person, so I could be saying it wrong, but yeah. So I don't know. Maybe someone called Calliope. They can come in. They can come in to get me on it and say that
we're
I'm saying
gonna,
it wrong.
you know what? Leave it in the comments or in the wherever you guys are watching this. Write in and tell us if it's
Yeah,
Calliope or if it's Calliope.
yeah. Well, maybe it's both.
Maybe it's both.
Uh,
Yes.
but yeah, I have like never wrote a lot of my characters, almost all of them, super alpha, super possessive, super protective. And this is my first male hero that I've written
Oh,
that
it
is
is.
a
That's so
little
exciting.
softer, but also then this like dom sub energy when we get into the sexual. Like it's really fun. And my beta said this as well. She said he's my favorite book like hero that you've ever written. He's truly mine because again, I wrote a lot of myself into this. I'm an eldest daughter, perfectionist Capricorn. Like the world is on my shoulders. I have to carry the load. I have to take care of everything. And he's like, let me take care of you. Like I see your load. I want to take care of you without taking away your agency and your strength. Like I want to nurture that. And he's like a very fun energy to write. And as
Are
probably
you
one of
writing?
my
Are you writing my dream boyfriend right now? You're like listing
I
off like
literally,
now.
yeah, and again, it's like it's part of, because my husband and I did struggle with having a new baby and me changing and me, like, I would always be the rock for us, and I have been throughout our life, and I really got really bad postpartum anxiety, and suddenly I wasn't the rock, and it was a really big change in our dynamic, and it was a struggle at first, and then he's become that he will take care of me and he will like take the lead and nurture me. And it was a big journey to get there, but it's where we are now. And that's part of what I've written into Elliot is like that softer side because a lot of the book boyfriends are like gruff and protective, which I love. Trust me, I love an alpha male. I'm married to an alpha male. I love them. But I think also what sometimes gets lost is the nurturing part and that softer side. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I really had so much fun writing that and writing that dynamic of the morally grey women and the quote unquote unlikable women. And I really enjoy writing unlikable female characters and strong female characters and take no shit female characters. And I also really like writing men that will bring out their softer feminine energy at the
Yes.
same time as letting them have that stronger quote unquote masculine energy. So it's one of my favorite. I say this a lot, but I really, really enjoyed writing this book and I really enjoyed the way that the characters came out, and just it was again, it was a journey through what I'm going through right now, and trying to learn to let go and not have the weight of the world on my shoulders and accept help and all
And
of
feel
the things that feel safe and that feel seen. And it's I think again a lot of women struggle with, and finding a man that will let see them and take care of them and not like invalidate them. So yeah.
no, and not think you're crazy or not think you're too
Yeah,
much or like you mentioned with Rip and
Beth.
Beth, thank you. Brain fart. But yeah, she's one of those women who are polarizing for just being unapologetically
Mm-hmm.
herself
Mm-hmm.
and and standing up for what she believes in and being tough, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And I feel like when women do the same things that men do, it's kind of like, oh, look at her. Like she's
Yeah.
like it reminds me of the Taylor Swift song Mad Woman. It's like, oh, look at her, she's going mad again.
Yeah, yeah, and that's exactly it. And Calliope, as she worked on Wall Street, she was like really strong, and it was like in a man's world. And
Feminine, masculine
yeah,
energy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I really had fun with playing with that character, and then kind of commenting on that whole thing, on the way that men still view strong women to this day, and women view strong women. Women can be just as cruel to women. It's just it was a really fun character to write and to play with,
She
and
was my favorite in in all of your books. Like even though it was other people's stories, other character stories, she stood out. Like in
hmm
every book that she's had little inklings in, she's
yeah,
been such like a force, and I
yeah,
can't wait for her own story. I feel like she deserves so much, and she
yeah,
deserves that like softer energy. And I see
yeah.
that in myself in her too. Like
Yeah.
like as an eldest daughter, and I she's definitely like she has to be the strong one, and like she has that like wall up of being like
hmm
so tough and,
Yeah.
not letting people see her cry and kind of like that unfazed energy, but really she's like so phased.
Yeah, that's exactly her. And that was really what I enjoyed writing, is like how her walls kind of break down, and not just with Elliot, but with her whole family. And because that's what I enjoy writing too. I love writing family and girlfriends, like female friendships. I really enjoy writing big, like healthy female friendships. And that was part of her journey too, was like letting her friends in, because I could not survive without my girlfriends. I send my best friend a 20-minute voice message every day.
Oh,
Like
me
we go back and
too.
forth. I go on walks with my daughter, and I'm like
Every
yapping
morning.
on my phone. Yeah, got the voice messages on, and I couldn't survive without it. I could not survive without my girlfriends who like call me on my bullshit, support me, like help me, everything. So I really, that's a must in writing in my books too, and that's what Calliope has in this book too, which is like it's almost as important as writing the love story, in my opinion, writing that found family, those friendships, and
Absolutely. And they
because
have, and you know what? I think Jupiter Tides,
yeah, Jupiter Tides.
Jupiter Tides series, it's about found family and it's about
Mm-hmm.
real family because Rowan has such a strong real family and like
Mm-hmm.
Nora, but it's Nora's found family because she didn't have that, and
Mm-hmm.
it ties it. It's so delicious and it's just so it's a beautiful story. Like, everyone's interconnected, and even with Avery and Kane, like they envelop them into the fold, and even how you get glimpses of Knox putting his guard down with his niece, and it's just like I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry spoiling and things, but yes, it's so but amazing.
No, and then that's kind of like what I love to write as well, is like I'm so isolated away from my family and my friends here. So again, I write thing it what I need, and I need a village, and I love writing how important it is to have a village as a woman, as a mother, as a person. You need that. You need like beyond a person, and a partner can't be everything to you. They can be a lot and they can help, but you need more. You need more than that, because
Absolutely.
that's
And you make
yeah,
it feel seen, and I think that
yeah.
you help people feel seen and like feel validated and important, and I know you have for me, so I can't, and that definitely not the only one, and that's why your books are so popular and so beloved.
Well, that means the world to me. That's the best compliment I could ever be paid, because that's all I want when I write.
That's so sweet. But my next question is my last question, but I could talk to you for literally
I know,
hours.
I love it. Having so much fun talking
I'm
to
having so
you.
much fun. I don't want it to end, but I have a little one to get back to, and I have a little one to get back to too. But I could talk to you for hours. You'll definitely, if you want to come back on, you are welcome
I
anytime.
will come back on whenever you want. I'll be here.
If your life was a book, what chapter would we name this?
Oh, what chapter would we name this? I would
What
think
would you call it? Yes, call it. Yeah, I
like
phrased.
metamorphosis. I feel like metamorphosis
Ooh,
would
I
be this
love
chapter.
that.
That's the first thing that comes to mind, transformation, metamorphosis, because that's what it feels like right now. And I'm sure you resonate with that because I
Absolutely.
find
I love
that
The Alchemist. That's my
y-
like one of my favorite like self-help
I
books.
haven't read that one. I think I've bought it like three different times because I keep losing it. And I'm like, I know I need to read it. So,
You do. You
okay,
need to read
okay,
it.
they'll
Have you
go
read
next.
The Secret?
I haven't read The Secret
You
either.
need to read those two. I like The Alchemist a little bit more
Okay,
than The Secret, but you need to read them both. I mean, The
okay.
Alchemist is so it's like exactly what you just said, and it really it's about like transforming your pain into art, and I feel like that's your whole brand and your whole thing.
Yeah, it is.
People like love that.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, you have got me. They'll be at the top of my list. I have a big list, but I'm going to add it to the top because yeah, I love self quote unquote self-help books. They're like my new
Oh,
favorite thing.
cool. The book that just came out yesterday, someone in a review, and I love it so much, said that this is like a self-help book romance book.
Oh my God, that is the best. If I got that review, I'd be just like sailing on cloud nine for the rest of the day.
I was like so happy. I'm like, okay, like because they have such a healthy communication style. I mean, except for like one part, but like still, like they have such a healthy, like I'm like, okay, like all my therapy is working.
I love that for you. That's amazing. That's truly like I love marriage, and that's actually what is funny that you even say that because I think that like I love reading self-help books that I almost want to merge them into the romance books because I like reading romance books, fiction books that I feel like improve me as a person, and I feel like I gain tools from as well as escape. So I think that's amazing, and that's such a high compliment that you got paid, and you should be very proud of that.
Yeah, that's so sweet. Oh my God, you're amazing. Oh, where can we find you? Oh, I always forget. Where can we find
Um,
you?
I'm on TikTok and Instagram. That's probably where I spend the most of my time. I do have a reader group, which I used to be in a lot, and I'm going to try and be in more now, which is Cocktails with Anne on Facebook. But otherwise, Anne Malcolm Author on Instagram and TikTok is mostly where I hang out these days when I have time.
Bye, storytellers. Thank you so much, Anne. It's
Bye.
been
Thank
amazing.
you.
I feel like we're besties now.
I know. I feel like we are too.
Thanks for listening to Storytelling with Stephanie. If you liked today's episode, be sure to follow, leave a quick review, and share it with a friend. I'll be back next week with more stories. Until then, keep living your truth and rewriting your own story.